Hi, it's Pete. Today we want to have a quick look at is creating a mailing list using Google Contacts. So what I want to do first of all is have a look at how we manage contacts and create contacts inside of Google, how we then create a mailing list, how we can then edit that mailing list, and how we use that mailing list. Now, before we start, I'll just point out that the email address that we're using, November Grumpy, has been set up just for this exercise, and all of the email addresses that I'm using I've made up, so hopefully they're not somebody's real email address, otherwise that might cause a problem. But it's important that we think about the privacy of the people we're sending emails to as well, and we're not sharing their email addresses in a format like across YouTube or something of that nature. So here we are, we're inside our Gmail, and the first thing I want to do is come across onto the 9-pack and come down to where it says Contacts. I click onto Contacts, and this allows me to see all of the contacts that I've currently got available inside of my my contact list. To create a contact, I can click on Create a Contact, and here we're going to have a contact called Rupert. So there's Rupert. Rupert's going to have an email, and it's based on November Grumpy, but I'm just going to add Rupert at the end of that, so that we've actually got some differentiation. And then I can actually just save that email, and that contact is then created. I could fill in lots of other bits and pieces such as company, job title, their last name, any notes that I've got about these people. If I click on more fields, then I could add into middle name, last name, the suffix, so if they've got PhD or something of that nature I need to add at the end, the phonetics first, so I can add how to pronounce their first name. So if I do this here, so I could say Rupert, so that would actually help me to actually understand how to pronounce their first name. And again, that can be useful in various circumstances. I can come down here, I can add in details of their house address, I can enter their birth date, a particular event that's important that's coming up. I can enter their website if they've got one. So there's lots of things I can do. I'm just going to save that. And there it is. We've now got Rupert is saved. And it actually there underneath shows me how to pronounce Rupert as well. So there we've got that information ready to go. The next thing I want to do is to create a mailing list. Now to create a mailing list, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the people that's going to be in that mailing list. So I've chosen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I can click here onto where it says Manage Labels, and I could create a label, and I'm going to call this Mail 4 and save. So there's Mail 4 is now cropped up at the side, and if I move my cursor off it, you can see that there's 5 members of the mailing list. If I put my cursor back there, then I've got a pencil that would allow me to rename the label. So I could call it Mail List 4 VIP. Oops, except I can't spell VIP. So there's my VIP list. So again, I've now got my Mail 4 VIP. And I could have as many names or as many labels as I want. I'm not aware of any limitations on that. If I click onto here again, then we can see there's a tick next to Mail 4 VIP to say they're members of that group. I could also click onto Mail 3 and make them members of that group as well at the same token, at the same time. So people can belong to more than one mail group. And now if I just click outside of here, can we see how Mail 3 has now got 8 members, whereas previously it's only had 5. So it says 5 people have been added to Mail 3, well some of them were already in there, so that's actually just made it a bit bigger. So if I click onto Mail 3 and click onto the pencil, that allows me to edit the name, as it was said. If I click onto Mail 3 at that side, then it will show me the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of people who belong to that mailing list. And if I want to take Grumpy 4 out of there, then I can click onto here, manage the label, and just untick there, and that has now taken Grumpy 4 out of that mailing list. So if I come back up here onto contacts, I can see that I've now only got 8 people in that list. Well, somebody I've already removed once before. Okay. So I've now created and edited my mailing lists. Yeah, so I created a contact, I've managed my contacts, and I created a mailing list. And we've also seen how we can edit the mailing list as well. Now, to use the mailing list is fairly straightforward. I click here, I go to Compose, and we created one called Mail for VIP. As soon as I hit the Mail for, then it came up. Now, what it's done here, oh, it doesn't like the peak one, not a problem. I'll take that one out. What it's done here is it's put the contents of my list into the to box. Now, what happens when I send an email to people, people will see everybody's name that's in the distribution list. So they'll see all of these people's names and their email addresses. Now, that is not good practice, because the danger is that we will be sharing personal information, such as somebody's email addresses, that they could pass on. And potentially, that's how people get hold of people's email addresses, because somebody will have copied everybody else into a particular joke or whatever, and suddenly Luscious Lucy is sending you massive amounts of emails on a daily basis. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in Grumpy1, which is this email address, as the to box, and then in the BCC I'm going to add in the mailing list. So I've got mailing list 4. Oh, let's take that one out again, and I could also add in mailing list 2. So I can add in more than one list into the BCC group. Now, that can be particularly useful if you're working with an organisation or you're serving on a committee. So, for example, you may have a mailing list for contacts, which are members of the board, and then you may have a mailing list for members. So you could have a mailing list contact, a mailing list board, a mailing list members, and you could actually send it to both sets of people if you wanted to, or just restrict it to the board, or just restrict it to members. Then I would type in a subject. So here are the minutes, and then underneath I could put in whatever message I actually wanted to type in. Yeah, and I could include in there attachments. I could include inside that an image. I could include inside of that emojis, so a nice sort of smiley. Oh, no, let's go for the shades. Yeah, so I can include inside of that in that way. Click on to send, and that image has now been sent. And as you can see, because I've actually addressed it to me, here are the minutes, and I can immediately see that that message has been sent. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's just go back to our Google Keep, because we've now completed our last item using the mailing list, so everything is good. Talk to you later. Bye.